here's Brody Brazil.
I can honestly tell you I'm not somebody who enjoys sitting here and ever criticizing baseball as a sport or Major League Baseball as a business. However, there are situations that present themselves where we can all see something is not right. It missed the mark, and baseball made a bad choice or decision, and the way they're going about it needs to be refined. So I'm only critical sometimes because I want better for the game and the business of baseball. However, this video is actually not any of that. It's quite the opposite. I'm here to praise something that Major League Baseball has done in the last handful of years, something I think is going to help the future of this game, the growth of this game, and the digestibility, is that a word? Digestibility of this game for the next generation and a lot of years to come. They have shortened the average game length during the regular season by a significant amount. I think we're already starting to see the rewards of this. But like I said, the most important part is that baseball has set itself up to be successful for years to come. Look at that clock spin away and look at Aaron Judge just fly away like that. All right. If you look at the average baseball game time and duration, I mean, if you go back even decades, it kind of just trends up and up and up and up. It never wavered up and down. It just went up. It started taking a lot more time. Part of that is the fault of my industry, the broadcast industry, more commercials. And when there's a pitching change, then there's another commercial. And so part of it is that, but part of it is just the nature of the game. Games were taking longer. And so in 2021, it spiked at 3 hours and 10 minutes, which was an all-time Major League Baseball high. And so they knew they had to do something about this. And by the way, we're talking about the average game length. Even in 2021, remember during the 2020 season, they implemented the courtesy runner. Start a runner at second base for extra innings to try and get those extra inning games over ASAP. We don't ever touch a 14th inning anymore like we used to. So I want to put that aside too. This is more related to the pitch timer and pace of play, but I also very much appreciate the courtesy runner in extra innings. And I know some people out there say they hate that, and that's not how traditional baseball has always been played, and that's a sacred part of the game. But you know what? In the playoffs, no, I agree. A playoff game should never be altered like that. But for the regular season, when teams need to travel, you need to play the next day and the next 8 days after that, you have to complete these games in an efficient and timely manner, not only for the fans, but out of respect to the players too. Anyway, I digress. 2021, games are at an all-time high. They've got to do something. So by 2023, the start of last year, they implement the pitch timer. They implement a lot of pace of play things. I think in 22, there were some modifications, but 23 is when the games really shortened in terms of the average length. Look at that. Basically 30 minutes. The average game goes down by 30 minutes, a half hour to 2 hours and 38 minutes. And then from last year to this year, so far, it's even gone down another 2 minutes. Now, I point this out because sometimes there's regression, right? Like the average time gets cut down, but then maybe it kind of balloons back up to a certain degree. My point is they cut the average time down, and it hasn't gone back up so far. It hasn't changed. It seems like the modifications have worked and they're sticking. But I want you to remember all of this by rewinding to the 2010s. Now, I was doing a lot of pre- and post-game shows in that decade too. And baseball games, for the most part, across the country started at 7:05 at night, 7:05 local time with first pitch. So if you add 3 hours and 37 minutes to a 7:05 p.m. first pitch, that final out is being recorded approximately 10:42 p.m. local time. Okay, so a couple things here. Let's say you're an East Coast fan. Now, I'm a West Coast guy, but I always am mindful of this because when the East Coast teams come out west and we're starting a post-game show at 10:43 p.m., I'm thinking, wait, it is 1:43 in the morning out east. So if I'm a fan of the Boston Red Sox, Philadelphia Phillies, you name it, Atlanta Braves, am I really staying up until 1:43 in the morning to watch the post-game show, hear what the players have to say? That's going to be a really hard turn tomorrow at work. So the point is that East-West thing is always going to be an issue, but think how late 10:42 even is for a fan. If you were staying to the game, I'm just talking about watching. If you were at the game, now you got to drive home 20 minutes, put yourself to bed. So if you're up at 6 in the morning, you'll be lucky to get 6 hours of sleep after going to a night game in the 2010s. So the 7 p.m. first pitch was something they needed to take care of. A lot of teams during COVID and the 2020 season, they moved up first pitch. I want to say, was it 6 o'clock? They did a lot of 6 o'clock first pitches. Then 21 and I think into 22, they moved a lot of them back to 6:30. There's only a few teams. I want to say the Dodgers, I think the Seattle Mariners might still do a 7 p.m. first pitch, but for the most part, 6:30 across the board is the local evening first pitch start time. And again, I'm talking here mostly about night games. I don't know if day games are really part of the conversation, but night games here are the important ones for pace of play, in my opinion. First pitch is now at 6:35. Now you add in the average game length of, let's say, 2 hours and 37 minutes. And now your final out is being recorded at approximately 9:12 p.m. or 12:12 a.m. Eastern time if the game is out west. That's just a lot more digestible, right? So two things going on here. Fans can stay up a little bit later, or they don't have to stay up as late. And also the game time, you don't have to sit through 3 hours and 37 minutes of a baseball game. Let's just stop right there for a second. The NFL is easy to watch. There's one game per week for your team. The games are a little over 3 hours. You're committing yourself to that. How many people can commit themselves even to 2 hours and 37 minutes 5-6 times a week? Nobody really can. So to shorten the games, to start them a little bit earlier, all of this has been so beneficial for the digestibility of baseball. Here's the easy benefits. This is how I'll close out the video. Has there been anybody in the last 2 years with the pace of play and the pitch clock and the pitch timer, has there been anybody saying, you know what, that baseball game was too quick? I wanted more. Who's ever said that? The answer is nobody. So you know you're doing it right when nobody's complaining about it going too fast. If anything, people are saying, man, I can't even watch this whole game. It's going too slow. They're not saying that anymore. Television ratings, they don't have to compete with sleep anymore. I'll also be honest. There's a lot of people who put the game on. They can't finish it because by the 7th, they are Steph Curry night-night. So television ratings don't have to compete with sleep anymore. Families are also more likely to take their kids during school year games, right? Like basically first 2 months of the year, April and May, maybe into June a little bit. And then the last couple months, August into September, it's hard to take your family to a night game knowing that there's school tomorrow. Work is one thing for the adults, but school the next day, that's very hard. But to know that maybe you'll catch more of the game because it starts earlier and the total duration of the game is shorter, it's just more appealing to fans. By the way, attendance from even last year to this year with the shorter game duration, attendance across baseball has gone up about 2%. Now, you might not think that's a big deal, but 2% is also take into account there are two teams right now specifically who have unreal low attendance numbers because of their respective situations. The Oakland A's and their final season, and the Chicago White Sox and their historically embarrassing season and performance on the field. So baseball is still trending up, even with two of its franchises going way off the map on the low end of attendance for very specific reasons, which we can get into some other time. And then baseball, I do think just becomes a bit more digestible to fans. I keep saying this. I'm not trying to rush through a baseball game, but if you can watch more with the same amount of time, then you understand more of the game and you got to watch more of the game. It's just something baseball had to address over time. So not a lot of extra inning games, just in a sense of going 12, 13, 14 innings. That doesn't happen anymore. They're decided quick. The games are shorter. They're starting earlier. Major League Baseball game lengths, in my opinion, are much better now. But maybe you feel differently, and I'd love to hear about it down in the comments section below. So fire away. Let me know what you think about the average Major League Baseball game length. Does anybody really miss what it used to be like? I certainly don't. Also, since you made it here to the end of the video, thumbs up down below. I would greatly appreciate that. It helps me, this video, and this channel. And also, before this is over, do me a favor, take one quick second. Make sure down there that you are right now subscribed to this channel. That way I definitely get to see you back here next time.